Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Pints and Perspectives, a podcast hosted by WellHouse Church, where we believe that there's a plethora of theological perspectives and plenty of beer to go around.
Yo, 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 it's your boys. We're back again. What? It is 2023. Wah, wah, wah. Brat. Y'all, I'm still working on it.
Brilliant.
Kevin hated that.
No, Kevin's laughing right now.
Hi, Mr. Ware. What are we doing? It's Pints and Perspectives. Hey, welcome. Hey, look, real quick. I forgot about this on the last episode, but it should be stated every time because y'all be trifling. Why have you not liked, subscribed, and shared? Come on, y'all. Come on. We're trying to get rich and famous out here in these YouTube streets. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, get there as well. Look, just set it, grab that phone at lunch. Or not even at lunch, like when you're like actually working. Go on down to the WellHouse channel, put on the little Pints and Perspectives podcast, turn the volume all the way down if you want to. I know you don't want to listen to me. This is dumb. And so just, set it on off to the side and have it playing because we need them watch hours. All right.
Make sure you like it.
And subscribe to it. Hit that bell. Ding, ding, ding. Smash the button.
Also,
let's go.
This is a church podcast. We are not getting rich and famous. We are trying to get your money.
We're trying to
so that we can help people in the name of Jesus.
We're trying to make the name of Jesus famous.
That's right. That's right. So, thank you for your support. You can also give at the link if you would like. Okay, let's talk about some beer. Before we talk about these perspectives.
See what you did there. Look, there are a few beers in my life that since when I first started drinking beer way back in the day, I'm an old man, y'all know. There's a few beers that like are like there's just a place in my heart. Like I just love them. They feel like home. It's like Blue Bell. It's like a Blue Bell commercial.
You better stop.
It's like a Blue Bell commercial.
You better stop. Pick a different metaphor.
It's like grandma's house.
Yeah, there you go. Give me the listeria back and put the real sugar back in it.
Man, I love Blue Bell. Are you talking trash about Blue Bell Creamery?
After the listeria strike.
Oh, my God.
No, stop. After the listeria stuff.
I thought you were from Texas.
I am. After the listeria situation and they shut down, when they came back, they had changed the recipes and they took real sugar out.
Trying to protect your life.
Nah. Trying to put the listeria back in. All right.
Anyways, sorry for that rant that I started. St. Arnold's Springbok. It is
it's Grandma's house.
That's Grandma's house for me, man. And it's seasonal. You can only get it for 3 months out of the year.
It's spring.
It's like January, February, March.
Yeah. Well, it's because all of their seasonals come out about 2 months early than when they probably should.
Yeah, they're just hyping you up for the season. But yeah, this is one of their like beers that I used to drink way back in the day. The logo, the labeling has changed significantly, but it is an incredible bock. So think like
Shiner Bock.
Yeah, which is the one most people are most familiar with. But I like all bocks, like the style of bock.
Ziegenbock is another one.
I actually love Ziegenbock. So anyways,
Crawford Bock, if you're around Houston.
Yeah,
that one's real sweet though.
I love it. I kind of love it. So this one has a lot of malt in it too. But
that's also why that one's not my favorite.
It's seasonal and 'tis the season and I'm all about it. And I had 12 of them in my fridge. So I was like, I'm going to bring one. But so I have a story with this beer and I'm going to tell on myself for a little bit. The only time I ever really okay, here caveat. Do not drink and drive. Drinking and driving is not funny. You shouldn't do it. It's dangerous. People die all the time, every day. One time I was at a party and I had started drinking Springbok and I was like, man, I really like this beer. So I'd gotten a 6-pack. I was young, stupid. So I got in a 6-pack of it. And in those days, you could only get it in glass bottles. So it's like this big 6-pack. Yeah, cans are like a newer thing. And so anyways, went to this party and I drank one. I was like, man, this tastes so good. And I drank another one. I was like, man, this tastes so good. I drank the entire 6-pack. And I was doo-doo faced, okay? Sideways. And I started driving. But see, it was like one of those situations where it hadn't hit me yet. I was young and stupid. So I'm going down the road, this back road, and I'm like, oh, I'm like drunk. I was like, but I can't go home because my mother will kill me. I got to find Krista. So Krista was at work. And at that time, she was a cocktail waitress at Maggiano's on Post Oak. And I was like, I'm not far. I'm just going to go to Maggiano's. And I'm going to park there and go inside and get some bread and oil and just like sober up, right? I should not have driven.
I was just thinking to say, you are talking about driving while you need to a place to sober up.
I know. Don't do that. That's the bad part. But I did that. And so I showed up there drunk off Springbok, just like hammered off Springbok. And I walk in and Chris is like, what is wrong with you? I'm at her place of work. It was some of the worst choices I've ever made in my life. And I don't know why I just chose to tell you that story.
You were looking for safety.
Yeah. And so I did. So I sat there and I ate bread and sobered up and and like sat there for a few hours. It was stupid. But it's grandma's house.
Yeah, it's a nostalgic memory for you.
That's your
sure.
That's your story of the day. There you go.
Okay, so I have a beer from Shiner. Shout out Shiner, Texas, the Spotzel Brewery. This is the name of the beer is actually the Twin Dream Double IPA.
That's the Tex-Hex.
Well, okay, so I saw this, and this piqued my...
You saw it on a billboard?
Nope.
They're doing a big ad campaign for it right now.
Nope, I know. It started last year.
Oh, okay.
Tex-Hex is actually a line of 3 or 4 different IPAs. Here, let me see.
Oh, what?
It is, they launched in February of 2022. It was an initial launch. It's an IPA series, 3 beers. And what it all was based on was people wanted more IPAs from Shiner. That was literally all it was.
That's funny.
And so they made this line called the Tex-Hex.
So do they do the same IPAs every year, or is it a different beer each year?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know, because this article is from 2022, and it was just the initial ones. And so, yeah, it must be different ones, because this is Baja Brew and
this is Twin Dream.
Brewhouse Brew. But they must be a little bit different, because when I first saw it, I saw the Tex-Hex.
Yeah.
And it was on a different brew that I've already had.
Aha.
And I'm pretty sure I did on this podcast when Clayton was still the co-host.
Interesting.
And so this drew my attention. I was like, oh, wait, I've already had that. And then I took a second look, and I was like,
haven't.
I have not. So this is from the Tex-Hex IPA line from the Spotzel Brewery in Shiner, Texas. It's the Twin Dream Double IPA. It's 80 IBUs. Oh,
wow.
Oh, I'm in love. Idaho and Citra hops.
Okay.
Oh, and cactus water.
That's the gimmick. There it is.
Yeah, it's always got to have
These brewers always got to do something extra.
Yeah, and it's 9.5 ABV.
Sheesh. Wow. All right. Get turned.
No, it's a Thursday night.
9.5%. Let's see.
Cheers.
Cheers. That's a good beer, I tell you what. Malty, smooth, sweet, a little bit of bite, a little bit of bitter, like cake, like vanilla, bluebell, ice cream at grandma's house without listeria. Amen. Rating. Because I am ridiculous, it's going to get a 9.5.
That's the memory. I'm struggling with this beer a little bit.
He's disappointed.
I'm not disappointed at all. I think it's quite good. Well, let me rephrase. I think it's quite good.
I'm not convinced.
Well, I'm a little suspect about it.
Okay.
And that's why I hesitated.
It's the freaking cactus water, bro.
No, I think that you said it. That's the gimmick. This beer tastes awfully similar to the St. Arnold's Double Down.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think it's 100% there, and maybe that's the cactus water that's making that difference. Maybe they did change the hops a little bit, but it tastes a lot like the Double Down.
Oh, so you think there's like a trademark infringement situation happening? Like they stole it?
No.
Like it's some pirated beer drama?
No, because there's plenty of case law about creativity that makes space for that. But I will say it tastes awfully similar.
Interesting.
If you want to know what it tastes like, it tastes a lot like the St. Arnold's Double Down, which I have reviewed on this podcast when Clayton was here, and I gave it like a 9 something.
Is the Double Down, does it have cactus water in it?
No. The Double Down is a double version, a double brewed version of the same recipe of the
It's going
juicy
down for real. Oh, IPA, the juicy IPA. Nice.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've had that. Okay, well,
There's some a little bit different.
So what's its rating then?
I don't know. There's something intuitively, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something
Treachery.
I think it's like an 8.6.
Oh, 8. That's still a hollaback kind of rating. That is nice.
It is good. It had every bit of the making to be in the 9s, but my intuition's telling me something's a little off.
It is cool can art. I'll give him that. Also, look, Shiner, much love. Y'all ain't got to do the most.
They always do the most on everything except the Bach.
If you would just, dude, Shiner Bach is great. You don't need prickly pear light.
Hey, yo, and you can keep that Ruby Redbird.
Yeah, kick rocks.
Okay, so let's have a conversation about this weird construct that we call evil. And I posed this question to Adam off camera. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's a helpful way to picture this metaphor that I'm trying to work within. Is I said, okay, Adam, if we were going to have this conversation, we were going to have a conversation about the problem of evil from different perspectives. What do you think the most important, or what perspective should we hear from first? The perspective of the victim, the perspective of the defendant, or the perspective of the prosecutor? And what did you say? The one who caused the harm.
Yes, that is what I said.
And so, in that metaphor, God is the prosecutor. God's the one that represents the state, also the judge. I've used this metaphor in understandings when we have conversations about Job.
Oh, yeah, Job. That's what it was,
yeah. Satan is the defendant, or you might also say defendant's attorney. And we are the victim.
Okay.
And so that's how we're going to look at it. And I asked Adam, and he said, the one who caused the harm. So episode number 1 is Satan.
We're always talking about Satan on this podcast.
Adam, why do you think it's important to hear from the one who caused the harm first?
Well, got to figure out, because I think the reason why this question leads to a disbelief in God's existence is because who is the cause of evil? Or what is the cause of evil? If it's a who, if it's a what, whatever. And so that question creates ethical dilemmas and faith dilemmas. Who or what caused? So and so that's why I said that. Because that's what I'm most interested in, I guess.
Okay, that's great. As you sit today, who do you think caused evil?
Yeah. Okay. Great question. As I sit today, I think evil is a randomly is the product. Evil is not a thing. Like badness, I guess. These are metaphorical terms for bad things happening. Sorry. Okay. Now I'm getting hung up on the words. Yeah. what is evil? Bad stuff happening? Can you ask me again?
I could, but you've accomplished what I was trying to get you to accomplish.
Okay,
So
I don't know. That's good. It's a solid question.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question is because that is super important. I think a lot of people walk around and you have one of two things. Either God caused it or Satan caused it. When Satan, in some made up long story.
Okay, hold on. Let me back you up. Where I sit right now. So sorry. Where I sit right now is the problem is I don't believe in a God or a Satan. So the cause of it is like a randomly occurring natural occurrence.
So you would just chalk up all the acts of God to like climate change?
Not necessarily climate change. I mean, earthquakes happen because of tectonic plate movements.
Well, okay,
right?
I was setting you up. You did well.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like all sorts of manners of suffering. Like cancer is not
right.
Childhood cancer is the Holocaust. Like, let's use the Holocaust, right? Like,
yeah.
What caused that?
So you don't think? So you don't have some kind of So I guess that's true. You're approaching the conversation without a presupposition that I have, which is that there is a God, there is supreme deity, there is what I call the divine. And I've kind of come up with that term because I love the Native American theology and the way they call it Great Spirit.
Yeah.
And so I've just decided to kind of adopt that. It's gender neutral. So the divine, that kind of what Paul Tillich would call, the ground of being. If I believe in that, and that being pre-existent, I don't know why in the hell it's a far reach to say that something like adverse to that was also pre-existent.
Yeah. Well, but see, now you've gotten yourself into a different theological conundrum.
Why? Because
Satan, in a Christian construct Satan is not equal to God and pre-existent. Is evil,
nobody said he was equal.
Okay. So is evil pre-existent? Is evil eternally existent?
Well, and the other thing is, I didn't say Satan.
Okay. Is evil eternally existent?
Well, so this is a great question, and this is what I was really setting it up for. I think I would be remiss to not remind everyone of a great philosophical conundrum that's been presented to us for thousands of years, which is...
Who let the dogs out?
Nope. If everything is good, is anything good?
Okay. If everything is good, is anything good? Okay.
If there's nothing to compare goodness to...
You need a yin and a yang. You need an on and an off.
Well, in some ways...
You need a good and a bad.
Well, that's the only way you get to a construct.
Okay.
Is to have a point of comparison.
Okay.
Right? You following? Okay. So with that...
Polarity.
You are saying causation. And so, let's go to the beginning.
In the beginning.
Mm-hmm. When God created the heavens and the earth.
There it is right there. Who?
God.
What was before that?
This says the beginning. But also, remember, just in everything, the story is told beholden to the eye of the teller.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. Okay, Adam. Think throughout the Bible is a common motif light and darkness?
Yes.
And one to represent good and one to represent bad?
Yes.
Okay. And what...
Which I think has some problematic... anyways, go ahead.
I do not, because darkness is the absence of something.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we'll come back to that. What substance in this world is formless and void until you give it a form?
Formless and void until you give it a form.
Water.
Oh, okay. Water.
Water just runs. It literally, gravity just takes it. Right?
Okay.
Until you give it a form, you give it a structure, you give it a container to hold within.
Yes, water.
The earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep.
Yes.
The deep what? Water? While a wind from God swept over the face of the waters, God said, "Let there be light." Hey, Adam, where'd that water come from?
Okay, so are you getting to your whole deal like God happened upon creation?
If God happened upon something,
but the something, word the something.
Matter is the something.
But he created the matter.
Did he? Does that tell you that whatever God started with was nothing? Or does that tell you there was something before? Because look, so God first lights it up.
So is it
Verse
part
3,
of God?
Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So God lights up so they can see what they've happened upon. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. So God made a decision that ended up being a motif throughout the entire story that we are beginning of light and darkness in his very first moments. And then God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Mm-hmm. I don't need to begin the age-old conversation about how is there a day when there's no stars, because we're about to make the stars. I don't need to do that for you. Verse 6, and God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters.
Mas aguas.
And there were under the dome from the waters, there was above the dome. And it was so. God called the dome sky, and there was evening, and there was morning, the second day. Here is the important part.
Oh.
And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear."
Pangea.
And it was so. So of that, what did God make?
Nothing.
Light?
Okay.
A dome or mist?
Okay.
Of some kind, some atmospheric pressure. You know, if you're going to use
the ozone layer.
Yeah. And then land.
Okay.
God did not make water.
Okay.
Does water become a common motif throughout the biblical story?
Yes.
And what does it end up representing?
Chaos.
So that's what it is in the Old Testament. As it is here.
Cleansing.
Purification.
Renewal,
we
purification.
Get baptism.
Yeah.
Jesus, when he's on the cross, they stab him in the side with a spear. He pours out what?
Blood and water.
Water. Water becomes this like redeeming metaphor.
Okay.
Much like Jesus himself. So I say that to say that this is an ancient book. I don't think they're having the scientific conversations. They've not been through modernity. They don't have telescopes. There are lots of things that these people cannot know.
Right.
But what I think they're trying to communicate to you is that, and this is affirmed in the Midrash, the commentaries on the Old Testament, that there were some people that believed that God showed up, and the truth of this was that God made order out of chaos, because that's what they believed to be the deep. And if that is so, then God happened upon something that could have already been corrupted.
So is that something that already was, that could have already been corrupted, where evil could have already existed? Is that thing, whatever that thing is, the formless void? Let's call it the formless void.
I think
when God shows up and happens upon the formless void, which may or may not contain evil, is the formless void eternally pre-existent along with God's eternal pre-existence?
I believe in evolution, so like I don't think that's like.
Okay, so Big Bang Theory, chemical. So who created those chemical processes that started the hydrogen and the oxygens becoming water?
The divine.
So God did create that process.
Yeah.
So he started a chemical process in the cosmos and was like chilling in Sector 82, but then came to Sector Milky Way, and suddenly there was a planet that he liked.
No. See, you have taken this to an extreme that I don't think these people ever meant.
Because I'm trying to understand if God is real.
Well, trying to meld the biblical story with science is not going to get you there.
But if your response to the problem of evil is God's not the author
all
of
I'm
evil.
trying to say is it's not far-fetched even in our own biblical story to say that a divine energy was pre-existent. And it also can't be far-fetched to say that a energy of darkness is pre-existent. Every story has a protagonist and an antagonist.
Okay, so this right here, the antagonist is you would make space that it is a pre-existent.
I would say that's fine. I don't have a hang up to say that character is pre-existent because one will prevail. And the character of Jesus has already shown us that character will be the divine.
I think that's a good answer to the problem of evil in terms of causation. What is the cause of the problem of evil? What is the cause of evil? If your answer is it's equal to God in terms of pre-existence.
Well, yeah. I don't. For me, it's not far-fetched. Like, I don't have the ex nihilo thing. Like, I just like I get that Isaiah says that, but like, there are other parts of the Bible that just don't affirm that. And so for me, like, I get we've made a whole big thing about that, and I get that there are counsels about it later. For me, it's not a big thing. I just don't read creation that way.
Do you think God was created?
No.
So the divine. Okay, wait. So the divine was not created, but there is a possibility that the divine, which has always existed.
We could call the divine Yahweh. If we wanted to maintain a metaphor, we would call that Yahweh.
No, I understand. I'm saying you're making space for other.
Nope, not other. Just one.
A counter to the divine.
An antagonist.
An antagonist. A polarity. An opposite.
Yeah.
And
so I believe that in the same way that, let's say, the ground of being and the ground of death.
Okay.
Right? To carry Paul's idea and kind of expound on it. If you have both of these, then they start out on level playing field.
Okay.
And what they start out with is that God manipulates ground of death.
Okay.
God already shows power and control, authority over ground of death. But ground of death still has its sting.
Sure.
And so, like, for me...
But see, God made it sting. This is the other problem with the problem of evil, is God then says, hey, that whole ground of death thing, you're going to suffer in it because you ate the fruit, bruh. Now you're going to have pain. Now you're going to have suffering. Now you're going to have death. Now you're going to have weeping and gnashing of teeth. And God intentionally, purposefully, punitively imposes suffering upon the thing that he says is the crown jewel of his creation. So he, therefore, is the author of suffering. Because I hear your answer that, like, maybe there's this pre-existing source of evil. But now, sorry, I might have jumped to next episode.
Well, you have not, but, you kind of have. But it's not that far, and I have more to say about this being of darkness. Or what do I call it? Being of ground of being and ground of death.
Ground of being and ground of death, yeah. Coined it.
Yeah, so you're making an argument to the tree. God put the tree there, told him to don't eat of it, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Do you tell your children not to do things?
Yes.
Why?
For their safety.
Okay.
And for educational purposes, to learn, to grow, to mature.
And do they do those things?
Sometimes.
And do you think that your children endure suffering at your expense when they do some of those things?
At my expense. Like I allow them to suffer? Is that what you mean?
allow them to suffer. Some might say cause them to suffer with consequences, with punishments, with groundings, with taking away privileges.
So, yes.
Do you have a swear jar?
No, they don't.
Your kids don't swear.
No.
My kids are younger than yours when they swear.
Oh, well, wow. Let's not talk about parenting styles. So what are you getting at here, Cullen?
What I'm getting at is it's not far-fetched to say that sometimes suffering just happens.
Okay. Now let me ask you some questions, Mr. Prosecutor.
Whatever you want to ask.
Do you do you think there are degrees? Do you think there are measurements? Do you think there are degrees of suffering?
Oh, certainly.
So
Lamentations would tell you that.
Okay. So you as a father, when one of your children disobeys you and you know it's time for a punitive response, you have a choice of degree. Mm-hmm. You could say, hey, don't do that. You could say, hey, now you don't get dessert. You could say, hey, now you have to stay in your room. You could say, hey, now I'm going to take you out back and whoop your butt. You could say, hey, now you're going to suffer for eternity, and I'm actually going to murder you.
God did not say that.
Yes, he did. He said, hey, now that y'all did that with that tree that I gave you, now you're going to die. No. You're going to sweat.
Here's the difference.
Hey, girl, hey, yo, lady, get ready for childbirth. It's about to be wild now.
To be fair, it does not say that childbearing was new. It says that childbearing will now be painful.
The suffering. He added a little smattering of suffering and death into it.
This is why I link death and suffering together.
Right.
Because of this. And I say all of that to say the difference in your argument is that God, previous to them ever taking a step, God said, don't do that, or this is what you will experience. You did not say that. Okay. You did not say that you told your kids, hey, if you hit your brother,
I'm going to kill you. And then she hits her brother, and then do I kill her? No, I effing do not.
God did not say that they caused that. Remember, ground of death has some power in this. They've got some ground to play too. God did not say that God caused death. God said, here, I'll find it.
The other pre-existent eternal force, the ground of death is the... So now God, the all-powerful one, is going to let the bad one, ground of death, have his way with humanity.
Genesis 2:15. The Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to till it and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you may freely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat.
Which I put there. And I've decided that you're not allowed to eat of it. I'm making all of the rules.
I mean,
I have foreknowledge that you're going to violate all of the rules. But these are still the rules.
Wait. Who said God has foreknowledge?
Okay, yeah, right. You're an open theist.
We're going to have a conversation about that on the God side.
Okay, sorry.
Don't be bringing your presuppositions in here. For in the day that you eat of it, you will die.
Bingo.
Did God say, I'm going to kill you?
Okay, no, he didn't.
God said that don't do this. Mm-hmm. Me, creator, who did all of this for some reason, brought you to life because I am an existence of being, life.
But now I am going to let you die. Okay, all right, so it's passive.
It's passive.
Okay, so he's not powerful then.
Have you read this book?
So what?
The First Testament version of this God seems to be extremely powerful to a point that they end up looking like ground of death quite a lot.
So then he's not a loving God.
Oh, but that's why you get the Second Testament, because you get the fullness of the story, which is what I would say.
Yeah, where he kills his own child.
No, where God conquers ground of death by offering a version of themselves.
Through the execution of an innocent man.
Of themselves. Mm-hmm. How does one conquer an equal? Think about every great narrative you've ever read.
Star Wars.
The two equals, one ends up prevailing at some point. Well, I've never seen Star Wars.
What?
Sue me.
What is your like go-to? Lord of the Rings? What do you?
Yeah, sacrifice.
Uh,
Great movies always prevail. I mean, they're pretty common in Marvel movies. My memory is terrible on stuff like this.
Yeah, it's also because you don't watch things.
It's true. I don't really watch television. But every great story follows one of 7 basic plot lines. And one of those plot lines is always the hero plot line, which Jesus is kind of the hero plot line. And in the hero plot line, there's a sub point in a lot of great literature. Which is sacrifice, that you conquer through sacrifice. A great example of this would be Frozen 1.
He's like, let me jump to a catalog that I know well. Disney
Children's movies. Yeah, my daughter not going to let me not know a Disney princess movie.
Let it go.
Yeah, that's a story of conquering through sacrifice.
Yeah, and I guess there is a suffering in sacrifice that is
Benevolent,
redeeming.
Adam, if you and Noah were out and a mugger came up and said, give me all your money, give me your phone, give me everything. And in order to save Noah, you give it all away. And then the mugger says, okay, one of you is going to die. Dad, you or Noah? Which one you picking?
Depends on how bad Noah's going.
Should have known you'd make some joke like that. Of course you're going to say, take me.
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
Definitely. Yeah.
That's a sacrifice. That's conquering an evil or an equal through sacrifice.
But yes.
And that's the story that you see with God.
But the presuppositions there is that sacrifice, that the shooter is shooting. Like that somebody has to die. Somebody has to sacrifice. Like the rules of the game are that somebody has to sacrifice. Somebody wrote that narrative. Somebody wrote that narrative. God wrote that narrative.
Did God write that narrative? Or did God's adversary that they found already have that? I mean, we did call it ground of death.
Okay.
Satan's entire existence is about power and suffering and harm and death.
Okay, I look, man. If that's your answer, if that God has this other force that He's in, that is the cause and the root and the problem of evil. And so you would say that the way I think that's heresy, though.
Oh, it probably is. It probably is.
It's a good answer to the question.
It probably is, but you know what? I've learned about most great theologians.
They're all heretic.
They're heretical at least one point in their theology. Because you can't make it all fit together.
Bingo.
Perfectly. Like there's no, and this is why we keep having more councils to narrow the thing down. What I base all of this off of, what I base heresy or not off of is the Nicene Creed. I'm not in violation of the Nicene Creed with any of this. And so I feel okay. And if I'm wrong on some of it, I believe there's probably grace for that. Let's hope I'm right.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to the Pints and Perspectives podcast hosted by WellHouse Church. Be sure to give us a rating and a review if you enjoyed the episode. It's free and it helps us immensely. Also, feel free to check out our other podcasts.